Professor Radhavallabha Tripathi, former Vice Chancellor, Central Sanskrit University, Delhi. He is a renowned scholar in Sanskrit. He was brought up in an environment where Sanskrit formed a part of life. He was a student of science and mathematics at school and college, but he opted for Sanskrit for his post-graduation because of his liking towards the subject. Ever since his time at school and college, he was drawn to Sanskrit poets like Bana and Kalidasa and used to perform in Sanskrit plays too. He is known for his original contributions to the study of Natya Shastra and Sahitya Shastra, has authored several books and translated Sanskrit plays, including classics from Sanskrit to Hindi. He is known as a creative writer in Sanskrit and Hindi, has worked at various universities in India and abroad. He is known for his innovative skills, designed various new teaching methodologies, and cultivated new areas of study. He served as the head of the Department of Sanskrit at Dr. Hari Singh Gaur University from 1980 to 2014, but during 2002 to 5, he deputed as visiting professor at Silpalchon University, Bangkok by ICCR, New Delhi. Professor Tripathi has visited UK, US, Germany, Netherlands, Austria, Thailand, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, etc. for the purpose of academic assignments, has delivered more than a dozen keynote addresses and several lectures for international and national seminars. We are fortunate to have such a great person, such a great scholar to chair this session. Sir, with great respect, we, the Kandalur Shala as a whole, welcome you to chair this webinar session. I invite Professor Radhavallabha Tripathi, former Vice Chancellor, Central Sanskrit University, Delhi, to chair this session and to address the scholars.
Thank you very much. I'm extremely grateful to the organizers and to the members of the Shala for organizing this excellent program. I have been, during these days, extremely busy. So many online programs have to be attended or participated, and rather overworked. But as requested by Professor Murali Madhavan, I will make some remarks on interrelationship between Natya Shastra and Veda. We all know that Natya is termed as Veda in Natya Shastra itself. In the very first chapter of Natya Shastra, the term Natya Veda has been used 13 times, as far as I could count. Maybe the number could be even more than that. So the interrelationship between Natya and Veda is very much underlined by the author of Natya Shastra, Bharat Muni, right from the beginning. The very first Karika speaks of a benediction offering obeisance to Pitama and Maheshwara. And then he says that I will speak Natya Shastra, which was specified, which was created by Brahma. So just as Brahma created Vedas, Brahma also was a spokesman of Natya Shastra. And then Natya is called Veda. The Shastra of Natya is Natya Shastra, but the knowledge of Natya, which is eternal knowledge, is a Veda. So whatever comes to us as an eternal knowledge is Veda. And Natya remains with humanity, with our civilization, right from the very inception of civilization. The day Homo sapiens came on this earth, the Natya was there, or the knowledge of Natya was there. So therefore, being eternal knowledge, Natya is termed as Veda. Now, the question how Natya Veda was created, and about the inception of Natya Veda, as described in the very first chapter of the Natya Shastra, that the gods approached Brahma. The gods saw that the people are overpowered by the worldly pains and pleasures. They are given to rustic pleasures. Gramya dharma pravartetu, kama lobha vashangate, irsha krodhadi sammude, loke sukhita dukkhite. The people are given to greed and patience, jealousy and anger, and they are unhappy. Sometimes they are happy also. So the age of Krita Yuga, Satya Yuga is over. And in this Treta Yuga, the ordinary human beings are not gifted like the seers. So the age of seers has come to an end. So the gods, wishing the welfare of the humanity, they decided that they should have, the humanity needs another Veda. So they approached Lord Brahma for creation of the fifth Veda. So they said, Na Veda Vyavaharoyam Sanshavya Shudra Jatishu. It is the 12th Karika of Natya Shastra. Gods approached Brahma and they said that these Vedas are no more accessible. The Vedas are no more accessible to the common men, Shudras and ladies. Therefore, the humanity needs a fifth Veda after the 4 Vedas, and that will be this Panchama Sarvavarnika Veda. So this is the specification, this is the quality of the Natya as the Veda. It is the fifth Veda, but it is something special to humanity because it is the Sarvavarnik Panchama Veda. It is the Veda open to all Varnas. There is no restriction of caste, color, or Varna or Jati for this Natya Veda, but it is Veda. So the interrelationship of this Natya Veda with the earlier 4 Vedas, that is described after this, when the gods requested Brahma to create this 5th Veda, and Brahma assured them that he would create the 5th Veda. In the very next Karika, 13th Karika, Bharat Muni says, Evamastiti tanupta devarajam visrajya cha sasmara chaturo vedan yogamasthaya tattvit. Tattvit, the person who knows the essence of things, the God who knows the essence of things, Lord Brahma, after giving farewell to the gods, having assured them, he recalled the 4 Vedas, and then he made a resolve. So he made a resolve like this. In the 14th and 15th Karikas, the resolution of Brahma to create the 5th Veda. So dharmyam arthyam yashashyam cha sopadeshyam sasangraham bhavishyatash lokasya sarva karmanu darshakam. It is the 14th, and in the next Karika, Bharat Muni says about the resolution of Brahma, sarva shastrartha sampannam sarva shilpa pravartakam natyakhyam panchamam vedam setihasam karomyaham. I take the resolve to create the 5th Veda, which will be called Natya Veda, and it will be enjoined with the itihasas, all the shastras, all the arts and skills and crafts, and it will be the torchbearer for the humanity like the earlier Vedas. So it will be correlated to 4 Purusharthas. So it will have Dharma, Artha, etc., etc. So having made this resolve, Brahma created this 5th Veda that was to be called Natya Veda. And what components he derived from the 4 Vedas. So these are very well known stanzas. Evam sankalpa bhagwan sarva vedan anusmaran natya vedam taschakre chatur vedang sambhavam. having made this sankalpa or resolution, Bhagwan Brahma created this Natya Veda, which was created out of the 4 Vedas, out of the 4 Angas from the 4 Vedas. So one Anga, one component derived from each of the Veda, and making an assembly of the 4 components or 4 Angas. This Chaturvedanga Sambhava Natya Veda, that Pathya, the text was, part was taken, and the Rasa part was taken from Atharvaveda. Now, this is the tradition. Some of the modern scholars say that it is a kind of defense structure, and Natya was there, and Bharat Muni and those who were performing theatre, they tried to glorify Natya. Therefore, they created this myth that Natya was created out of the 4 Vedas, and Pathya was created, taken from Rig Veda, and music was taken from Samaveda, and Abhinaya was taken from Yajurveda, and Rasa was taken from Atharvaveda. Otherwise, Natya is autonomous. It continues right from the beginning. So this interrelationship is overimposed. So many scholars, some of the modern scholars, of course, they opined like this. Even Adyarangacharya, who was a good scholar, and some others. But I subscribe to the view of Abhinav Gupta, the way he interprets this stanza and the way he justifies that why Rigveda contributed, how and why Rigveda contributed the recitation part, the textual part for theatre or Natya, and in what way Sama contributed to the music part, and in what way Yajurveda led to the creation or the conceptual framework of Abhinayas, and in how Atharvaveda is correlated to the concept of Rasa. So Abhinav Gupta says that there is a logical interrelationship between these 4 Angas, Pathya, Gita, Abhinaya, and Rasa, respectively with the 4 Vedas, Rigveda, Samveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvaveda. Because he says that Rigveda is Tresvarya Pradhana, and the swaras are employed in Rigveda. The same swaras are used in Natya, as Bharat Muni explains in the 14th chapter on Vachik Abhinaya. So the whole concept of Traisvarya, which is practiced in Rigveda, is in the same way practiced in the dialogue delivery or in the recitation part for theatre. And therefore, Rigveda has an invariable link for the creation of the textual part. Otherwise, also, there are dialogue hymns in Rigveda. Rigveda abounds in dialogue hymns, and they are very theatrical. Pururava Roshi Samvad, Yam Yami Samvad, Vishwamitra Nadya, and several other dialogue hymns. And they used to be performed in the Yajna ceremonies. And in Latyan Shota Sutra and Katyan Shota Sutra, some other dialogues are also described, like Brahmachari Punshali Samvada, Advaryu Somvikrai Samvada. So they were performed. So they were like a small plays, and they were performed as a part of the ritual, as a part of the Yajna ceremony. So the whole Veda, it has dialogues, and especially Rigveda has a lot of mythology, akhyanas, dialogue hymns. So it led to the creation of textual part of theatre, of Sanskrit drama also. We already know that Kalidasa wrote a play, Vikramoorvashiyam, and the clue for the theme of the play lies in the Pururava-Vashi Samvada of Rigveda. So, because the concept of Vaka, Chatvari Vak Parimita Padani, Guhatriyani Ingitani Yanti, Turiyam Vacho Manushya Vadanti. The whole concept of Vak and the philosophy of Vak is laid down in Rigveda also. Abhinav Gupta explains Therefore, the whole philosophical thinking, the whole aesthetic principle of the text for Sanskrit drama and the akhyanas, the dialogues, they naturally came from Rigveda. The other Vedic texts might be containing these elements of Pathya, but Rigveda is the fountainhead. Rigveda is the basic source text which led to the creation of text of the Sanskrit drama. Therefore, it is right to say that Pathya was taken from Rigveda, and Samaveda is for music. Samaveda led to the whole tradition of Indian music, and Gemini also says Gitishu Samakhya. So the whole practice of Samaveda, the mantras are the same hymns of Rigveda are adopted in Samaveda, but the singing is added, and instead of recitation, Samaveda is for the musical rendering, and it led to the whole tradition of Indian music also. And the same musical system of Samaveda was adopted in Natya Shastra. This is very much important to understand, because the Natya Shastra music, the concept of jatis and shrutis, which Bharat Muni explains in Dhruvadhyaya, right from the 20th chapter to 34th chapter. So all the concepts, they do not belong to the medieval music. They belong to the Vedic musical system, which was given in the Samaveda. So this also is very much justified, that the whole concept, theory, and practice of music in Sanskrit drama, in theater, in Natya came from Samaveda. And then in Abhinav Bharati, in the commentary on Karika 17th, some sentences have got mixed up, and the editors of Abhinav Bharati didn't bother to check what Abhinav Gupta is saying. So I could just changing the order of the words in 3 or 4 sentences in Abhinav Bharati, I could understand the whole passage and what Abhinav Gupta intends to say. So what has happened here, that some words which speak about the Abhinaya part in Yajurveda got mixed up in Atharvaveda, in the passage on Atharvaveda, and some of the words dealing with the Yajurveda, they occur in the passage dealing with Atharvaveda, and some of the words dealing with Atharvaveda, they got mixed up in the description of Abhinaya in Yajurveda. So the way I could reconstruct this passage, so I will try to read it, and perhaps it makes sense here. Ganavanad Rupi Samagana Kriya Pranabhuta Kala Sadhyatmaka Tala Samanyam Sikratamathraiva Advarya Karma Pradhanetu Yajurvede Karmanam Pradakshina Gamnadikrama Eva Prathamam. So in Yajurveda, the karma is pradhana, and pradakshina is done around the Vedi, around the ritual altar. And the whole concept of pradakshina in Abhinaya is adopted from Yajurveda that way. So 2 types of entries Bharat Muni describes, pradakshina pravesha and apradakshina pravesha. So the whole idea of pradakshina pravesha, advarya loitoshisha ritvija pracharanti. So they make circumambulation around the sacrificial altar, and the dominance of karma is very much revealing, because it connects to the concept of karma in Abhinaya. So Abhinava says that Natasyeva tasya ritvija prashtuta Vaishnadyanubhavanam prajashattu pravartinam avadhana grahanadina lohitoshnishadir nepatyasya cha teshu karmasu vishishta prayatna purusha sampadya manovashtambhanatmana sattvasya sambhavat. tato abhinaya grahanam. These words, of course, are not very clear. Prashtud and Vaishtud. They are some rituals and they are connected to Anubhava according to Abhinav Gupta. So some gestures are made when you do Prashtud and Vaishtud, and they are connected to Anubhavas. And the Ritvijas as Natas, they become the Vibhavas. And Nepatya is also there, Loitosnisha, etc., etc. They have to attire themselves in a typical dress. So all the components of Abhinaya are described in Yajurveda, and they have to make manovashtambha. They have to concentrate within themselves to perform the ritual because they have to invoke the gods. So all the components of Abhinaya are laid down in Yajurveda, Angika, Satvika, and Aharya. Vachika is dealt with separately in Rig Veda because Vak is the main content. So the whole concept of Abhinaya in this way comes from Yajurveda. And about Atharvaveda, Abhinav Gupta says, Atharvan Vede tu Shanti Maran Karmasu Pradhanya Vidyasat Vibhavanam Dhati Pramodadi Vyavicharinam Cha Paramartha Satam Samaharanam Pradhanam. This sentence can be now construed in this way. So some of the words got mixed up in the description of Yajurveda there. So in Atharvaveda, Shanti Karma and Maran Karma are described, and they lead to Dhati, Pramod, etc., etc., the Vyavichari Bhavas. And then the whole concept of Rasa emerges from Atharvaveda. Therefore, the concept of Rasa came from Atharvaveda. So this is one thing. So after this, Bharat Muni comes how Natya was practiced. And Brahma created this Natya Veda. And after creating this Natya Veda, Brahma said, asked Indra to practice it. So who will be the authorities for practicing it? Who will be the adhikari for practicing it? Brahma says, Kushila ye vidagdhascha pragalbhascha jitashrama te swayam natya samgyo hi veda sankramyatam tvaya. You take this Natya Veda, I created it, but you hand it over to them who deserve it and who can really practice it. So they should be skilled, and they should be vidagdha, they should be connoisseurs, they should understand poetry, and they should be eloquent, pragalbha, chatur, and they should not be exhausted. They should be ready to toil, jitashrama. So you ask such people to practice this Natya Veda. You ask your colleagues, the gods to practice it. Indra said that we cannot practice it. So this is very much significant because the performance of Natya is at par with Yajan or Yagya or Ishti, and gods do not perform Yajan or Ishti. They enjoy the Yagya Bhaga. They take the Yagya Bhaga, they are invoked and they are present during the performance. So they see the performance, they enjoy the performance, they take the Yagya Bhaga, but they themselves do not perform. So because Natya is equated or is treated at par with Ishti or Yajana, and the knowledge of Natya is Natya Veda and its performance is Yagya ipso facto. Therefore, gods say that we are unable to perform. We are not adhikaris for performing the Natya. So only the seers, the munis can perform it, just as the munis can see the mantras, and they can perform the rituals, yagya. In the same way, the munis can perform the Natya, which is equated to yagya. So Ashakya Bhagwan Deva Ayogya Natya Karmani, Indra says that, oh Lord, the gods are simply incapable of performing Natya. So this is another thing which is very much suggestive of the whole conceptual framework in our tradition of Natya, which Bharat Muni speaks about. And the tradition has a scientific basis about its connectivity to Rig Vedas, about the performance of Natya as a yagya ritual, and the whole concept of vrittis also, because vrittis create Natya, Vrattayo Natya Matara. So in the Vratyadhyaya, in the 22nd chapter again, Bharat Muni, after explaining the genesis of vrittis, he says, Rigvedat Bharati Kshipta, Yajurvedacha Sarpati, Kaishiki Samavedacha, Shesha Atharvanadapi. So Bharati Vritti being Vachika Pradhana was created out of Rigveda, and Satpati Vritti being Abhinay Pradhana was created out of Yajurveda, and Kaishiki Vritti, which is very delicate and tender mode of performance, was created out of Samveda, and the remaining Vrittis, Arvati, was created out of Atharvaveda. So because Vrittis lead to the genesis of Natya, Vrattayo Natya Matara, and these Vrittis are 4 Vrittis. So these quadri these combinations of 4, they are there. 4 Vrittis, 4 Pravrittis, 4 Vedas, 4 types of Abhinayas. They point out to the invariable links to the whole conceptual framework which comes from the Vedic tradition. So in this way, the Natya Veda was handed over to Bharat Muni, and he with his disciples started performing the Natya Veda, and the performance of Natya Veda is again and again said to be equal to Yajna. So what would be the occasion for the performance? So Brahma said that Indra Maha is being celebrated, the festival of Indra is being celebrated, and you have your debut performance of Samudra Manthan Samavkara on the occasion of Indra Maha, and that performance of Samudra Manthan was presented before the gods, and God's sight, they were present, they were happy, and there were some disturbances. The demons, the Natya Vignas, they invaded, and they created pandemonium on the stage. So the question of protection of Natya as a Veda and Natya as a performance equal to Yajna came there. So just as there is a Yajna Mandapa for the protection of the performers, and there is a protected covered area, in the same way, the performance of Natya should be there in a covered area. So just like Yajna Mandapa, there should be Natya Mandapa. So the whole concept, the whole Vastu for this Natya Mandapa is derived from the Vedic text, because the 2nd chapter, which describes the architecture of theatre, is perhaps the oldest Sanskrit text which speaks of Vastu Shastra. I am not aware if there is any text older to that in Lokik Samskrita. Of course, in Shulva Sutras, in Sutra literature, we have the elements of Vastu, and we have the prescriptions of Yajnavedis, and all the measurements for the Yajnavedis, very scientific and mathematical terms are used there. Even Pythagoras theorem and other mathematical concepts are laid down. So in the Paninian tradition of Lokika Samskrita, the Vastu texts come later. They are later to Natya Shastra. So Natya Shastra for the architecture part of Natya Mandapa depends on the Shulva Sutras, and the concept of gods remaining present in the Natya Mandapa. Just as the gods are invoked on the eve of the performance of Yajna, and they remain present during the performance, they take the Yajna Bhaga, they are present. It is presumed that gods are there. In the same way, when Natya Mandapa is created, the gods are asked to reside in various parts of the Natya Mandapa. So the names of the gods, so most of them are here Vedic gods. Some of them are Agamic personalities, they belong to Agama tradition or later Puranic tradition also. But the Vedic Devamandala is very much there. So Yama is there on Devli, Yama should be there, and Shul of Yama should be there, Niyati and Mrityu will be there, and Parshvecha Rangapithasya Mahendra Sthitavan Swayam. On the Parshva side of the Rangapitha, the main stage, Lord Indra himself would be there because he would supervise and see that everything goes on without any obstacle. So this Vedic Dev Mandala is there in the various parts of the architectural structure of Natya Mandapa. And then when Natya Mandapa has been constructed, there should be yajana in it. So Brahma says that Vishwakarma has constructed this Natya Mandapa for the performance of plays, theatrical performance. So you should have yajana in it. So etasmin nantare devan sarvanah pitamaha kriyata madhya vidivat yajanam Natya Mandape. So the performance of Natya like Vedic Yajna should have its vidhi, and you should proceed according to the vidhi, and that would be the performance of worship of the gods in the Natya Mandapa will be like Vedic Yajna. So Krita Madhya Vidivat Yajanam Natya Mandape, it is in the 120th Karika of Natya Shastra. So these are the concepts which point out to the invariable link between Veda and Natya, and not only the practice of Natya, but the theory and the whole philosophy of Natya. Because Brahma lays down the philosophy of Natya. What is the philosophy? Yes, Bhavatam Devatanam cha Shubha Shubha Vikalpaka Karma Bhavan Maya Pekshi Natya Vedo Maya Krita. So it would involve the karmas and bhavas, and it would lead to distinction between Shubha and Ashubha. And the whole concept of Anukriti and Anukirtana, that is derived from the Vedic philosophy. The Vedic philosopher Aitreya Mahidasa, he says that Dividham Shilpam Manusham Devam Cha. There are two types of Shilpas, Manush Shilpa and Dev Shilpa. So the Anukriti of Dev Shilpa is Manush Shilpa. And what is Anukriti? It is not mimesis or imitation. It is creating again. So the whole world as given to us by God is Dev Shilpa. And human beings, whatever they create after it, so that Anukaranam, Anupashyat Kratihi Karanam, that doing after the given world or creating the given world again in a creative way, after undergoing through a creative process, through Bharati, Satpati, Keshiki, Arbhati, through the Abhinayas, Angik, Vachik, Satvik, Aharya. So you do not imitate, you do Anukriti. And that Anukriti is not imitation or mimesis that way. And so the whole concept of Anukirtan, which is laid down in the first chapter of Natya Shastra, in the words of Brahma also, in the words of Bharatmuni also. So the whole philosophy of theater, that also comes from the Vedic philosophy. Actually, the whole worldview, the Vedic worldview percolates Natya Shastra. And Natya Shastra is deeply rooted in the Vedic philosophy and the practice of Yajna. So the Trividha Sannivesha, Test Chatrash and Ayat, Jeshta Vikrashta and Madhyama, all these concepts which are laid down in the Shulva Sutra text and the measurements of the Yajnavedis, they are adopted in Natya Shastra. And the Ranga Devata Pujana ceremony, which is described in the 3rd chapter, and the way various balis and offerings are described, that also is a continuity of Vedic ritual. It has some agamic elements also, but the link of Vedic ritual is there, and especially the Brahma Mandal, which is specified, prescribed in the 2nd chapter, that on the Rangapitha there would be a Brahma Mandal, and all the deities, Vedic deities, are invoked, and they are enshrined on the Brahma Mandala. In the center of that Brahma Mandal, Brahma is seated, and all various other gods, they are given their placements in that Brahma Mandal. So the whole concept of Vedi and Mandala, there is a Vedi also, on which the Kutupa, the Gayakas and Vadkas, they are seated, but the mandala is there in front of that. And each and every actor which stages his or her entry should make a circumambulation, pradakshina around the mandal, presuming that the gods, the deities are seated on the mandala. So he makes pradakshina around the mandala. So the whole concept of Shodasha Hasta Mandala, which is laid down in the 3rd chapter, and the gods which are described there, seated in that in the various parts of that mandala: Saraswati, Lakshmi, Shraddha, Medha on the eastern direction, Vanni, Swaha in the southern east, and Vishwadeva, Gandharva, Rudra, all these Pitaras and Pishachas. So various Vedic deities are also given their placements in this mandala, and eventually it is said that the whole performance of Rangadevat Pujana and the whole performance of any play also is like yajna, and just as a yajna, if performed by vidhi, would lead to apurva and would lead to auspiciousness, shubha phala. In the same way, a play performed according to vidhi would lead to shubha and to apurva. And this Rangadevat Pujana also is a yajna. So if it is performed according to vidhi, it would lead to shubha. So samyak ishtastu rango vai swaminah shubhama vahe purasyabal vruddhasya tatha jana padasya cha. If samyak ishta is it is performed properly according to vidhi, then it would lead to shubha. And durishtastu tatha rango devate duradishtita. So gods do not stay there if durishta is done, if it is not done according to vidhi. So the word ishta and durishta and ishti, they are repeatedly used in this context. Yajnana sammitam etad Rangadevat Pujanam. So this Rangadevat Pujan is just like yajna. So this is the you can say the essence of whatever Bharat Muni could say about the interrelationship between Natya and Veda. And I think I should stop over here. I thank you very much. One more point I could have added: the whole concept of Alankara is also derived from Rigveda, and the word Arankriti is used in Rigveda 3 times at least. Indrakate asti Arankriti suktai, and the concept of Alankara in Natya Shastra is given there. In Nirukta, Yaska says that there was a Vedic seer who had described Upma. Upma atat tat sadarsham Gargya. Gargya was a Vedic seer. So all the principles of aesthetics, architecture, and the worldview which has developed in the Vedas, that is adopted in Natya Shastra. Thank you very much. I'm grateful to all of you for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Professor Radhavallabha Tripathi, for such an informative presentation, scholarly presentation. Of course, you have delivered the lecture on Natya Veda and Natya Veda, how it was created and in what context it was formed. That's the philosophy of Natya, philosophy of Vak, and the dialogue, the importance of dialogue hymns in connection with the Natya, and also that the Adhikari for Natya, the link of Vedic rituals and Natya, and to mention a few, So it was a very informative presentation. Once again, thank you, sir, for such a very informative presentation.